In the hustle of mommying, we can lose ourselves sometimes, and if you want to see what's been making me feel more like myself recently, stick around. Hi everybody, welcome back to Project Happy Home. For those of you who are new here, I'm Tanya, an MD-JD turned homeschooling mom of 3 kids ages 7, 4, and 2. Sometimes in the hustle and bustle of motherhood, you can lose yourself in taking care of everyone else's needs. So I wanted to create this Mom Me Time video series to focus intentionally on what has been making me feel more like myself and more whole as a person, as apart from simply a mother. And if you'd like to join in the video series, all you have to do is make your own video of what's been making you feel more complete as a woman in any given month and label the video Mom Me Time Faves, and hopefully it'll automatically add to the playlist. If you have an issue with it, don't hesitate to send me a message and I'll try to do it for you. So in the past, my Mom Me Time Faves videos have basically dealt with things, tangible items that bring me joy, whether they be cosmetics or books or food. And I definitely think I will continue showing you some of those things, but probably a lot less. Why, you may ask? Because I have decided to embark upon a minimalist journey. Now, in my 10 years of marriage, I have gathered quite a collection of things. Although I think that a lot of those things have been very high quality and very useful to me, as my life has changed, as the number of children I've had changed, as where we've lived has changed, there's a lot of things I've accumulated that I simply no longer have a need for. And over the last 10 years, our living space has grown and grown and grown in square footage, and I have definitely kept up with that growth and filled the closets and filled the drawers with things. And recently, we contemplated the idea of moving, and just the thought of packing up all of this stuff again, for I would say the 4th time in the last 8 years, started to fill me with this sense of dread and anxiety. And I realized that the reason is because so much of it is just things that will be packed up in a box and then unpacked in another place and then also not used. Things that I haven't seen for years, literally, that I would then be packing up and opening again and putting away to then again not use for years, most likely. So I think it's a good time to review my belongings, review all the things we've collected in the last decade, and really start culling and deliberately deciding, do I have a purpose for this? Do I not? Part of that process includes not bringing too many new things into the house as I'm culling. So there will be a lot less hauls, or a lot smaller hauls in the forthcoming months, as well as a lot more decluttering videos. And when I say decluttering videos, perhaps I should really say minimalist videos, because I am a really good organizer and all of my unnecessary things have been put away and labeled and neatly folded and organized and tidied in various boxes, and it all looks really, really organized. But just because you have nice organizational supplies and skills doesn't mean you actually need any of that stuff that you've carefully organized. So I am trying to really deliberately decide what kinds of belongings I am going to keep in my space. And if we do move, I very much would like to downsize so as to prevent this from happening again. If you guys are interested in minimalist videos, please let me know in the comments down below what kinds of videos you'd like to see. Would you like to see me actually do decluttering? Would you like to see organization? Would you like to have a voiceover over decluttering videos? Just let me know, because I've never done these before and I'd love to be as helpful as possible. I don't want it to just be a self-indulgent exercise. In terms of the Mom Me Time videos, what this means is I'll be presenting a lot more intangible things or incredibly useful things that I hope will also bring purpose and meaning to your lives. One of the first favorites I have for the month, because it is summer now, is sunscreen. And I know I've talked about this before in some of my videos, but I truly think the most important thing you could do for your skin and your children's skin is to slather on sunscreen. And I don't mean just in summer, I mean every day. I owe my devotion to sunscreen entirely to my mom, who is a pediatrician and who made sure that I had sunscreen on every single time I went out and made it part of my morning routine. So in the morning, I wash my face, I put on a couple drops of facial oil, and then I put on a good dollop of sunscreen. Now, a lot of people don't use enough sunscreen on their face. You need at least a teaspoon of sunscreen to adequately cover your face. I have a lot of friends who use mineral foundations and liquid foundations that have SPF ratings on them. And I'm going to tell you right now, that does not give you adequate sun protection. For one thing, hopefully none of you are putting a teaspoon of foundation on your face a day. I personally don't wear foundation, which is why you'll see like random freckles on my face and stuff. And I just use sunscreen. So I put facial oil on. I wash my face with just water. I put facial oil, a couple drops of facial oil on just for moisturizing. And then I put on sunscreen. In wintertime, if my face is feeling especially dry, I'll use a moisturizer underneath or a moisturizer with sunscreen. So I just wanted to show you some of my very favorites, and I wanted to show you it before I decluttered my beauty cabinet, because going forward, hopefully I'll only buy 1 or 2 of my favorites in any given season. I might rotate them, but hopefully I'll only have 1. Right now, as you can see, I have quite a few. One of the first products I'm going to talk about is something I've talked about before. It's the CeraVe Facial Moisturizing AM Lotion. It's SPF 30. The nighttime lotion basically contains a lot of the same helpful skin ingredients minus the SPF protection. So if you are sensitive to chemical sunscreen, you might want to use the nighttime lotion and then get a physical sunscreen on top. I personally am not sensitive to it, so I like this. One thing I will tell you, it does do a little bit of pilling, so the ingredients in it sometimes will ball up a little bit, so you want to like make sure you rub it into your face really well. This one's about $15. It's SPF 30. It's really emollient, a really nice moisturizer and sunscreen in one. Just to show you what the texture of the CeraVe is like, it's very similar to any other facial lotion. It pumps out of this little pump, which is airtight, and I like that. You can just twist it and it becomes airtight. You can't push it down. It's just like any other sunscreen. It's a little bit thick, but not very. For example, it wouldn't be as thick as like kids sunscreen or anything. And then you just have to work at it a little bit to rub it in. So as you can see right now, there's definitely a white cast. But if I work it into my skin, that white cast is greatly diminished. In terms of drugstore sunscreens, another one of my favorites is the Neutrogena Ultra Sheer Dry Touch Sunblock. This one's SPF 30. It's also a broad spectrum sunscreen, which means that it covers both UVA and UVB rays, and that's really important to look for. So when you're using a sunscreen, make sure it's broad spectrum. And this one's pretty lightweight. It's a little bit thicker than the CeraVe. If I can show you, it's more of a typical sunscreen texture where you can see it's not moving at all. And it's got like a thick texture. You're going to have to rub it in. I do not use this one on my face at all. I use this one on my hands and my arms, sometimes on my chest area, though usually I just use my facial one there. As you can see, it has a slight white cast on my skin. I am obviously a woman of color, so I don't use this on my face for that reason, but on my arms and things like that, I don't care so much. It has SPF 70. It is very dry touch. It doesn't have that greasy finish, and so I like it a lot just for every day for my arms. The next sunscreen I'm going to talk to you about is by Dermalogica. Dermalogica is a company that I really do like. You can find them at skincare spas and things like that, where I don't go, so I just buy them online. This is SPF 50. It's also broad spectrum, and it has other helpful ingredients in it like antioxidant white tea and advanced oleosome encapsulation technology to boost the sunscreen effectiveness, and various other higher cost ingredients that are good for your skin. I really, really like this one. I also like that it has this little reservoir indicator on the side, which shows you as it pumps up. So if you can see the light coming through, I have about this much left. And when it gets up to the top, I'll know when it's time to buy a new one. It has a cap and a little pump mechanism as well. You can also lock it. And let's show you. It has a little more fine texture than the CeraVe, but it's still thick. It's not at all watery. And it rubs in super easily without any white cast whatsoever. It's what I have on my face today, and it's just really, really comforting and comfortable, and I like it a lot. The next one I'm going to show you is by SkinCeuticals. This is arguably the most expensive of the lot, as well as the most carefully formulated one. This is a broad spectrum SPF 50. It is also UVA and UVB protective, and it's water resistant for 40 minutes, and it's paraben free, chemical filter free, and it has what's called a universal tint. And I agree that it is kind of universal if you are medium brown toned or less. I think that it could be a little bit too pale of a tint if you are a darker skin tone, though I don't know what actually will happen. You have to shake it up. You can hear that sound, because this is chemical free. So it's a physical sunscreen, so you want to mix up those ingredients. And then when you drop it out, it's much more liquidy than the others. And you can see that it's got this slight creamy tint on it. So it's a slight creamy tint, which actually creates this nice little glow. I'm not a huge fan of tinted sunscreens, but when you use a mineral sunscreen or a physical sunscreen and you have any kind of tan to your skin, it's a good idea to do that, because otherwise the mineral or physical sunscreens will be really, really white and chalky. They have this tendency to be super chalky. So that's sort of the finish on that. And I really like it. It gives kind of an even glow to your skin. I don't use it that often, partly because I don't need to use a mineral sunscreen. I don't have so much sensitivity to the chemical ones. And the mineral ones that don't create a chalky finish are generally much more expensive. Last but not least, if you guys aren't bored yet, is a company that I love that was started by a woman who actually suffered from a bout with skin cancer, and it's called Supergoop. And my favorite product by them is this one, which is the City Sunscreen Serum with vitamins E and B5. It's broad spectrum coverage and SPF 30. You'll notice there's a PA rating of +++. And I believe in Europe and in Asia, you need to put a PA rating on a sunscreen, which indicates the strength of its broad spectrum coverage. In the United States, you don't have to, but Supergoop does it anyhow. This says it's a lightweight anti-aging serum delivering lasting moisture, improves skin texture, and protects from premature aging. And it supposedly has a soft focus finish. I don't really notice that. I find this one to be just a little bit more on the greasy side than, for example, the SkinCeuticals or the Dermalogica. But really nice and moisturizing. It's totally all the bad stuff free. So it's paraben free, it's synthetic fragrance free, oxybenzone free. And I really do like how it comes out on your skin. I feel like this arm has been sunscreened out. So let me show you on this hand. So when you pump the thing, it definitely comes out with a little bit of a tint, just like the SkinCeuticals one, and it's a little bit more of a peachy tint, but it kind of completely disappears. So it's the most liquidy of the lot, and it has very much of a silky serum-like texture, and it blends in effortlessly. So really easy to wear under your makeup if you do wear makeup. I personally don't, meaning I don't wear foundation. But this one I think would be a really good option if you do, because it just glides in really, really matte under everything. Another one of the products by Supergoop I really like is their hand cream. It's the Forever Young hand cream with sea buckthorn. It's got a little bit higher SPF of 40. It's a little bit thicker, and it rubs in really nicely. I keep this size in my purses so that I can always put it on if I get into the car later on in the day. I think my favorite product by Supergoop is this one, which is their eye serum, and I definitely will be repurchasing this. I don't typically use eye creams. This is the first eye cream that I have used consistently because it feels so nice going on. I especially like that it's SPF 37 and it's ophthalmologist tested. If you'll notice, a lot of eye creams say that they're dermatologist tested, but not ophthalmologist tested. And anything that's going that close to my eye, especially things that I put like on my upper eye, I want to be ophthalmologist tested so that I know it won't create irritation. The top of this has this stainless steel slanted tip, and it is so cooling and nice. So you basically just squeeze out a drop onto that tip. You know, you dot it onto your eye area, and I do on the top also, and then you just like massage gently, and it is the nicest experience in the morning. And I think that's what makes me keep doing it, is really the massage factor of it. So my feeling about skincare products is we won't do them unless they're pleasurable, and this one totally is, and it makes me remember to put SPF on under my eyes. So it's a complete win in my book, and it's about time for me to repurchase it. I think I've had this tube for about 6 months, which is about time, I think, for it to be thrown out anyway. I've just really, really enjoyed this one. The next thing I want to talk to you about is something to make your dinner making prep easier. The reason this is in my mom me time favorites is because making dinner shorter and easier definitely makes me happier and feel more like myself. If dinner prep starts to take too long, I start to feel a little bit like a slave, honestly. Sometimes it's nice to be able to throw something in there and have it be really tasty without all the cutting and chopping and measuring and dipping and sifting and all of those other wonderful cooking words. I really like cooking. Sometimes cooking for a family is not as much fun as cooking for your husband. It's where you can cook things that adults will eat. My children have pretty varied palates, but once things get a little bit too fancy, they're like, I'd rather have fish sticks. So in that vein, if you have not visited the ethnic aisle of your Target or your supermarket, you definitely should, no matter what ethnicity you are, because there are so many good curry mixes there. And if you don't like curry, from India, for example, there's curries from Thailand or curries from Korea or curries from wherever. And I think that you should definitely experiment with them because it makes for an exotic meal that's ready with minimal prep and super fast, and you can vary according to your taste level. Two of my favorite companies for this is actually just the in-house Archer Farms at Target and the Maya Kaimal stew mixes also. This one is going coconut, really nice and mild if you want to start easy. I think they label it medium. Okay, it's medium. It's mild for an Indian. And the green curry simmer sauce from Archer Farms. Super, super easy. Basically, you can use mincemeat on them, chicken, whatever kind of meat base you want. Saute it or brown it in a little bit of butter or oil or whatever you prefer. Cut up some vegetables. If you like green peppers, throw them in there. If you like spinach, throw it in there. Whatever you have. A lot of times it's a good way of using a lot of your leftover meats and vegetables. You just throw it all in there, saute it together, brown it all over, and then you dump a whole entire bottle of this in there for about a pound of meat, I'd say, and just bring it to a boil, stir it around, and let it simmer for 20 minutes, and dinner's ready. It is such a lifesaver. If you haven't checked them out, go into the ethnic aisle and see what kind of stew bottles you can find. I guarantee you there's at least one that you're gonna like, and it's a nice thing to have on hand just to make once a week, and then you can have meat for a couple days for your family, and it's no problem. Last but not least, my favorite of the month is an intangible, and it is the podcast, The Minimalists. The Minimalists was started by Joshua Fields Milburn and Ryan Nicodemus, and they're two best friends from, I believe, high school who, rose through the corporate ladder together, and then suddenly one of them, Joshua Fields Milburn, decided to change his life around kind of after his divorce and became a minimalist, like in a move. He was like, what am I doing? Like, what am I taking with me? Why am I taking it? What do I actually need? And started embracing this minimalist lifestyle. And his friend, Ryan Nicodemus, was like, dude, what's making you so happy? Like, why are you so happy? And he explained this to them, and they both left the corporate rat race and just started to live a much more intentional life with purpose. And I like a lot of the things they say on their podcast. One of the concepts that I'm really absorbing is that they talk about how we are always chasing happiness, and there's this continuous pursuit of happiness. But really, what we should be pursuing, what actually brings that joy and happiness, is pursue a meaningful life. Like, pursue your life with intention and make your short-term actions align with your long-term goals. So those are some of the main concepts from their podcast that really resonated with me. And when we buy things and when we consume things and when we associate with people, the things we bring into our life, when we watch television shows, when we read books, I think to live a life with intention means to very carefully evaluate whether what you're doing right then, this small action, this buying this tchotchke or reading this book or watching that Netflix show, aligns with your long-term goals of where you want your soul to be and where you want your life to be and how you want your family to grow. So those are the main reasons that I'm embracing minimalism. If you haven't checked out their podcast, I totally suggest it. It's a really good listen. It's not suitable for children. They do not use clean language all the time, and they do talk about adult topics. They have a movie on Netflix out there, a documentary they made called The Minimalists, which you could check out. And that one's very family appropriate. And I believe they also have a series of books, the last of which was called What Remains Behind. So I'm just really excited to embark on this minimalist journey. Please remember, if you have any particular videos that you'd like to see, or if you're interested in minimalism, or if you've had experience with minimalism, if you'd comment all that down below, I would love to read it. If you have good channels that you watch on YouTube that you really like about minimalism, I'd love to know that as well, or books or anything. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I wish you the very best day. Oh, and don't forget to check out the playlist below, because it'll have all the other videos this month from other moms who'll be talking about what makes their lives feel more complete as well. Thanks again, and I wish you the very best day.